I deep down in my gut believe that auditions should be paid. I believe they should be paid, and I understand. I'm
going. I'm leaving.
How I understand the problems. I'm not saying this is the simple solution.
There'll be less,
but
less people will.
Of course, there's a lot of things, but I think the bottom line is when you have any facet of a business where something is unpaid, those people, their time is abused, and you might hear a lot of victorious stories from the ones that survive and the ones that make it. And, stories of, and then I finally got my big break. But for those like me who auditioned for Marvelous Miss Maisel 12 times, and probably over the course of those 12 times, I don't know, spent upwards of, let's say, $600 on the self-tapes and all the things that go into it, I think this is unfair. And
what are you buying for self-tapes?
He's coaching with me.
Oh, coaching. Oh, he's coaching. Oh, okay.
You want to plug your
yeah, by the way, I do commercial and theatrical coaching.
Very good coach.
Some of my clients have
money
booked,
are you throwing
booked
down?
some of my clients have auditioned for Miss Maisel 12 times. 12 times.
I totally
Hey,
forgot.
you know what? Can I give
oh.
Chris a plug? Chris has both big theater jobs I have booked. I have had a coaching with Chris beforehand.
Thanks, Rusty Boy.
Gutenberg was the second big theater job.
Titanic.
Oh, so what do you think?
Oh, it's not a big break, but okay.
Thank you, Russell.
Yeah.
And it was your talent that you brought in.
Oh,
God.
I had a great
let's do
canvas to work
Yeah.
with.
You
Truly,
too can get your ass kissed like this for $65 an hour.
which is a bargain. Let me
It's a
tell you.
bargain.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I think just it would be catastrophic for actors because the number of people they would bring in for auditions would plummet. They would not see nearly as many people. I think
It wouldn't solve the problem.
It wouldn't solve the problem. And independent projects.
What's the problem though?
Independent projects, they would just cast their friends or people they know. They wouldn't be able to do it.
Or, hear me out, they would be forced to engage in people's either live theater and help reinvigorate the desire to do. First of all, remember, there's too many actors. Remember this too. There's too many actors. So if there are some people discouraged, if they don't feel like they have the goods and we're raising the bar a little bit, I think that's a good thing. But second, casting directors, there used to be a time where they would go and see you do your theatrical productions. They would go, oh, I'm going to vouch for bringing that person in, or they would engage in they would be forced to do more work. I don't think it would just limit it so
but
only.
I think they still are. I mean, they're still doing that, the casting directors. I mean, they're not just casting these. I think when you get a tape, it feels like you're sending it into the void, but I don't think they're just handing those self-tapes out to anybody.
I will always remember being a reader for this woman who came in for a role, and she came in and she like fucking wept for it was an incredible acting performance that I witnessed in front of me. Shocking to see an older woman walk in, give an incredible performance, walk out, and I remember the cast director picked up the phone and was like, oh, so-and-so said yes? Great. And the role that they had just auditioned for, that they had spent hours memorizing, maybe hired an acting coach, got dressed up, took 2 hours out of their day to do it, had literally just been given to a bigger star. They would never know why they didn't get the role unless they saw the movie later, but they were none the wiser. And their agent thinks, they didn't book. Who knows? Maybe it was the 10th thing they didn't book in a row, and now the agent doesn't work with them anymore. Every aspect of this, the bottom of it is the actor getting fucked.
But you don't know whether or not that actor, they made an impression on you. I think if the casting director is good at their job,
Pizza comes back.
No, but there is a thing of like, you're auditioning for the room, and the casting director will remember that. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's great. It's brutal.
You can't eat food. You can't pay your rent off. The casting director might remember.
It's brutal. But
well, why does it have to be brutal?
Because I mean, look, I think that after a certain level, like a certain round of auditions, they should be paid. And I think there is a SAG rule. Where it's
and you don't remember, I got a second callback once for a commercial. My commercial agent, I didn't get the check. My commercial agent said, you can go to SAG if you want to. You will never be brought back for that office again.
Right. Well, that's
so to a degree, it's absurd. But
that's why you should have a union do it.
I had a union. The bottom line is I'm saying, like, at every level, this person is treated like shit.
So what should you get? What should you get paid? What would be a fair rate for an audition?
$350,000.
I think it would be per contract, like ultra low budget SAG TV.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like a TV, if Netflix is casting a show, these are, I'm just making it up, obviously. What's minimum wage in New York?
I don't know. It's been a minute.
I think either
15,
25,
17?
25, 30, cover at least cover the taping, do a calculation of what's an average someone has to spend on a taping. Something.
$15.
And even if it's something, I do think, I remember with
Minimum
commercial auditions all the time, sometimes you go to a callback and you'd see everyone there from the original and
Yeah.
you'd call it an all back.
Yeah, all back.
And those kinds of things were like, wow, so now you've wasted 2 days of my fucking
There
life.
is a thing where you're like, the multiple callbacks where you're like, hey, everyone's here again and
Yeah.
we're doing the same content.
Even if it
What
was
is this
minimum
for?
wage, even if it was a minimum wage thing, I think it would create a certain degree of people being a little more careful with people's time. And I think and per your point, they do make you pay for the second. So this isn't unheard of, the concept of paying for auditions. My point is that I think there should be a baseline for the first, something more for the second. And for the third, it's a pretty penny. I think it's like 175, if not more.
You know, in opera,
But-
you have to pay to audition.
Yeah.
You have to pay them.
and that's why
that art
opera is
form,
doing so well.
Yeah.
but
But I think like, okay, $25. It's not nothing, but like
it's not nothing. But I'm saying,
but to me, I think the opportunity, like if they would normally see 20 for a role and now they're seeing 10, to me, if I'm in that between 11 and 20, that $25 is not worth it to me. I want to get seen and I want to.
if I audition for Miss Maisel 12 times and they're bringing me back. So look, you can, and this is where actors kind of get shit on sometimes. They go like, well, you should have been better. And I'm like, well, they kept bringing me back. So they were curious.
Sure.
They thought maybe.
Yeah,
And 12 times.
Right.
No sweat off their back. I don't even have proof that they watched the video. And I don't trust them.
Yeah. Well, my Miss Maisel story is different because I had a very similar thing where I auditioned 7 times and I booked the 8th.
But that's my point is that
right.
you're
but then the pay for that makes up for all the times that I didn't
But
get.
I just don't think any fair system should work like that.
Oh, no one said
that-
it was
Yeah,
fair.
it's not
But it
fair.
should be
It's not
better.
a fair
It's
system.
not
But it
fair.
should be better. I
It
think
should
like,
be better,
can
but,
we
but
not
would
improve
that
our
would payment?
position?
But would paying help? I don't know that it would help the working class actor.
I think it
in
would.
the long run.
First of all, and I know casting directors will share, and I think it's tough to get casting directors because there's one casting director got in big trouble. He was live tweeting auditions, but I think they have to be careful about how much they talk. It's been
Yeah.
tough to get a cast director for the show.
Oh my God. Well, you don't make it easy.
Yeah.
They're watching clips.
But they'll say like, "Hey, buddy, we're not getting paid well either." And I'm like, "That's fine, but that doesn't mean that it should fall on the actor's shoulders." I just think from all the way back to fucking majoring in this shit in college, the actor is just treated poorly, and there's people who are unlucky, and there's some people who probably should quit, and you might want to say to them like, "Hey, maybe you've never gotten an audition. No one seems to want to sign you ever. Nothing comes your way.
Right.
Maybe this isn't for you." And that's life. And I'm not saying that we need to correct life.
But I think in any industry, if I have a lot of friends who are non-actors, and when they're out interviewing, like some of these interview processes, they meet with 10 people and it's 8 hours, and then they have to do like a test case for like consulting work, and like this is all unpaid work.
But then they get a
Yeah.
bigger. I'm saying the problem with that model towards acting is sometimes these jobs, per your Miss Maisel, are a one-day shoot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's not that much. It's a lot for. Sometimes people hear an actor's day rate and they go, "Why are these actors whining about?" And it's like, well, I worked 2 days last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And right now, with the way TV is happening, the payday is getting lower and lower and lower. And my point is that maybe there's also a degree of like they'll give you, and I know we renegotiated recently with how many pages you can get in the first audition. But
Right.
sometimes they give you 10 pages, 12 pages. And the bottom line is no one at this base level is fighting for better treatment. I think if you're not going to pay, 2 pages. 2 pages. Look at my slate. Look at the pages. Do you want to see more? That's the second audition. Stop wasting my time. Because you, for all I know, you look at that slate. If the slate is at the beginning and I go, "Hi, I'm 6'3", and you go, a little too tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they know
Easy.
when they're calling you in. If they're doing their job, and they're good at their job. Which
Why am I going to trust that anyone's doing their job in this world?
Then why are you doing it?
Why?
Why are you auditioning?
But I'm saying, like, what improvements? You don't any improvements to be made in this system?
Of course. Well, I think there's a human level.
Feel
that can be made.
free to have an
here's-
opinion.
here-
You can agree with him or disagree.
Here's what I think
whatever.
would solve the problem
I
is
feel like
getting.
sometimes you get into this thing of like someone has to have the full answer right. Like I don't see a I think it's so I don't see a I don't feel like you're fighting really on
Sure,
this
I'm just
thing.
curious. Like, what do you think?
I think I agree with like I think if you made a system, it would actually be shittier for a lot of people. And
Yeah,
I
there's
wouldn't
always
be seen-
unintended consequences.
Of course,
But I agree with your thing on the cutting down of content because it is
Definitely.
like you'll get like 8, 10, 12 page scenes of shit where you're like, there's no fucking way
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
looking at all this in the initial round.
Yeah.
There's no way. And I fully agree with that.
I think
Like,
calling it a job interview is insincere. You are allowing the team to bring to fruition and bring to life, to test their vision out, to experiment, to explore. You're not just interviewing for a permanent job. You are literally giving them your body and your time
It's sex
for
work.
them. It is, and that's why
everything
sex
is
workers
sex,
charge.
remember?
Everything is sex.
Everything is sex.
And
Gianmarco
the agents are our
Soresi.
pimps.
Yeah.
The agents are our pimps.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just
I
think,
think what would
whenever
help-
you
I
don't
think-
pay for something, it becomes abused. I feel like that's just like a principle of
Sure.
life.
absolutely. I think that if we were back in person again, if we weren't doing these self tapes, it would limit the amount of people that they can physically
Mhm.
see
Yeah.
in a time frame.
Is that bad?
Well, no, but I think it would have the effect that you're having, which is like, okay, they're more discerning about, well, let me look. Is this guy
Mhm.
6'3"? Because I know that he's playing against a guy who's 6'5", and that's not going to work. Like, or I think that would help, A. And B, I think it would also bring some humanity back where you feel like you're connecting as opposed to filming it in your living room, pressing send, and then you're just like,
Yeah, it
well,
does it, yeah.
did anybody watch it? Did
Yeah.
anybody
Sure,
see
but
it?
my
Okay.
point is that it's not going back to that old system. It's moving into the new.
I think it's going to come back a little bit more. I think from what I've been hearing.
I have 2 in-person auditions coming up.
Theater
Initial.
certainly has
Theater, yeah.
shifted
Theater.
back.
And I don't mind the commercial audition, the first one being via like a tape.
Yeah, no, me either.
Because like sometimes you walk in, I remember I would walk in and you know you travel, you get on the subway and then you change subways and you walk and
They're
you have
running
to deal with
late.
other people
Oh,
and you're
yeah,
running
it's
late and you
brutal.
sit and you walk in, you're like, I think you're really gonna like this deal, and they're like, okay, great, that's great, just
Yeah.
one line and that's it.
Oh,
And
And
God.
commercials-
it's just-
Yeah.
Commercials especially are so predicated on like what the client is looking
Yeah,
for.
your type.
Like it's a look, it's a vibe, it's a brand
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
It's not creative. You're not like bringing a spice to it unless you're,
Well, you're usually providing all the content for.
well,
like,
and
yes.
that is something where if they're going to
Then
ask,
just make
because
up the
I
content.
take issue with the asking you to imprise things because it's like
Always.
now you're
Well, I
asking
thought they
me,
changed it. I thought they changed that rule.
but a lot of times it's like, well,
For
you know,
people, at some
Add your
point
own
during
little
our
thing,
career,
though.
they changed something where if you add lines, you do get some extra fee. But
right,
per my original point, these things are rarely enforced.
right.
It
Yeah.
feels impossible.
I went to an audition once, and this is a casting director that you guys all know. And I was walking with 3 people, me and 2 ladies. And when we walked in, everyone did the normal thing to the casting director, like, "Hey, how are you? How are you?" And this casting director is not a sunny person, and was like, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna die one day, and no one's gonna know my name." That's like this person's dry sense of humor.
It's his go-to.
It's a
And-
shtick. Kind of.
And
That's his fine.
and-
How are you?
And one of the girls was like, "Oh no," and he went, "No, you're gonna die one day, and you're gonna die one day, and you're gonna die one day, and eventually no one's gonna know. And so why are we here?" And then he's like, "All right, and action." "Oh, you're crying." And so this other girl over here was weeping. And she goes, "My grandmother died this morning. I shouldn't have come." And so she starts to cry so much that he was like, "Oh no." And so we were in the room trying to get her to clean up her makeup so that she could go, "I think you're really gonna like this deal." like that was it. It was this.
And wouldn't it be nice if she at least got $25 for that shit?
Yeah.
to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.